step into the market full of excitement, dreams of flipping that small account into something massive. Maybe you've watched a few success stories. Maybe you've even nailed a couple of demo trades. You feel ready. Then, the market hits back. Suddenly, that perfect setup turns into a red number. Your first real trade, gone in seconds. Your hands sweat, your heart pounds. And just like that, confidence turns into confusion. Welcome to your first blow. Every beginner goes through it. That moment when the market feels like a beast you can't predict, a beast that doesn't care. But here's the truth no one tells you. That first blow, that sting, it's not a failure. It's an initiation. Fear doesn't mean you're not cut out for trading. It means you're human. And the market has just exposed something real. Your psychology, raw and untrained. Let me tell you a quick story. There were two new traders, same age, same starting capital, same mentor. Let's call them Eric and Jay. Both came in hot, armed with enthusiasm and YouTube strategies. Eric took his first few losses and instantly spiraled. He blamed the system, switched indicators, doubled his risk. He tried to win it back. Jay, on the other hand, took his first losses too. They stung just as badly, but he did something different. He paused, he didn't react, he reflected. He journaled the trade, rewatched it, and forced himself to take a break. Fast forward 6 months. Eric blew his account and disappeared into another niche. Jay, still trading, still small, but now calm, focused, building. Why? Because Jay understood something Eric didn't. Fear isn't your enemy. It's your mirror. It shows you where your expectations are off. It exposes your emotional control. It reveals whether you're here to win fast or to last long. And that's what separates gamblers from professionals. Fear in trading isn't something you conquer once and never feel again. It's something you learn to dance with. Even pro traders feel it, but they've trained themselves to respond differently. Jesse Livermore, one of the most legendary traders in history, lost millions more than most of us will ever see. He once said, "The market is never wrong. Opinions often are." He wasn't afraid of the market. He was afraid of his own bias. The best traders don't ignore fear, they respect it. They build systems and routines because of it. So if you're new and you're afraid, that's good. It means you haven't let your ego blind you yet. It means you're still open to learning. But here's your first big challenge. Don't run from fear, and don't let it freeze you. Face it, learn from it, then use it. Because of that very fear you're feeling, it's the same emotion every pro once had, and still does. The difference is how they act through it. You're not weak because you flinched, you're just untrained. And that's fixable. In fact, that first loss, that first emotional breakdown, it's a gift. Because now you've seen the truth. Trading isn't a game of charts. It's a game of character. And your fear, that's your first teacher. Now let's talk about what happens when fear pretends to be logic and paralyzes your growth while making you feel smart. It's more dangerous than you think. Let's go there next. Have you ever seen a trader who knows everything but does nothing? They've read 10 books, watched 200 hours of YouTube, subscribed to 5 signal groups, and yet, when it's time to place a trade, they freeze. Not because they're lazy, not because they don't care, but because they're drowning in data and starving for clarity. Welcome to paralysis by analysis, one of the sneakiest traps in trading, and it hides in plain sight. See, beginners think more knowledge equals more success. They believe if they can just find the right indicator, the perfect strategy, the holy grail setup, then, and only then, will they be ready. But here's the brutal truth. Too much information becomes a cage, not a weapon. Let me paint the picture. Imagine a beginner trader. Let's call her Maya. Maya's smart, disciplined, hungry. She finds a YouTube video on RSI. She tests it. It works. Then she sees a TikTok trader using MACD, so she adds it. Next comes Fibonacci, then Bollinger Bands, then volume profiles, then smart money concepts, and now She's got 8 indicators on her screen, but not a single trade in her journal. Why? Because the more she learns, the more she questions everything. And slowly her brain turns trading into an exam, not an execution game. She becomes a researcher, not a trader. And here's the kicker. She thinks she's being smart, but in reality, she's just scared because it's safer to learn than to lose. It feels better to stay in control, reading, studying, planning, than to put real money on the line and face the market. But the market doesn't pay you for how much you know. It pays you for what you can execute. Let me repeat that. The market doesn't reward knowledge. It rewards behavior under pressure. Now, this doesn't mean you should stop learning. Not at all. But learning must lead to action, and action creates feedback. And that's what sharpens real skill. You don't become a sniper by reading about wind speed. You become a sniper by pulling the trigger, again and again, with intention and review. Traders are the same. The most dangerous type of beginner isn't the reckless one. It's the overprepared, underexperienced perfectionist. Because they mistake hesitation for wisdom. They say, I'm just being cautious. I need to test more. I'll trade live when I feel ready. But guess what? You'll never feel ready, not fully. Because trading isn't about knowing everything. It's about making decisions in uncertainty. Even George Soros didn't wait for certainty. He just built the confidence to pull the trigger when the odds leaned in his favor, and got out fast when he was wrong. He once said, it's not whether you're right or wrong that matters, but how much money you make when you're right, and how much you lose when you're wrong. That's execution over analysis. So here's the shift. You don't need more strategies, you need one good system, and the guts to stick to it through discomfort. You need to understand your edge, and trade it again and again until you master yourself more than the chart. Every trade you hesitate to take, it's not always caution. Sometimes it's fear in disguise. Fear of being wrong, fear of losing money, fear of looking stupid. But the only way to beat fear is to trade through it. Small size, simple setups, tight feedback loops. Action over theory. Maya? She eventually figured it out. She stripped down her chart, deleted 90% of her indicators, committed to one setup, and started trading, not perfectly, but consistently. And that's when the real learning began. So if you're stuck right now, overwhelmed, confused, frozen, understand this. The cure isn't more knowledge, it's more clarity. And clarity comes from action. So pick a system, commit to it, trade small, trade ugly, but trade. Because until you start moving, you're not a trader. You're just a spectator in a very expensive arena. Now, let's talk about the next big mental shift, the one that kills most traders quietly. Perfectionism, the need to be right, and how it destroys execution. Let's go there next. Let me introduce you to 2 traders. They start the same day. Same broker, same account size, same excitement. Let's call them Trader A and Trader B. Trader A is aggressive. He places his first trade within hours. No plan, no setup, just instinct. It works. Barely. He gets a small win. Adrenaline hits. He places another and another and another. Within a week, he's made 30 trades. His account is down 40%, and he's telling himself, I just need one good win to recover. Trader B. Trader B is cautious, almost too cautious. He's been watching, learning, waiting. The setup never feels perfect, so he keeps hesitating. He draws the zones, deletes them, writes the plan, edits it, opens the chart, closes it. 2 weeks go by. 0 trades. Different behavior. Same root cause. Fear. Trader A is afraid of being wrong, so he overtrades to escape the discomfort. Trader B is afraid of losing money, so he undertrades to avoid the risk. And ironically, both end up stuck, because fear, when unmanaged, always leads to destruction. Now let's dig deeper. Trader A convinces himself he's taking action, but really he's addicted to movement. He thinks the next trade will solve everything, but it doesn't. It only feeds the loop. He starts forcing trades, revenge trading, doubling down on losses. Each click is less about strategy, more about survival. He becomes a gambler in disguise, wearing the costume of a trader. Trader B, he convinces himself he's being smart. Patient, he says, but really, he's paralyzed. He's stuck in what-ifs. What if it fails? What if I enter too early? What if the news changes the trend? And every missed opportunity chips away at his confidence. Eventually, he feels like a fraud, studying a game he refuses to play. These are the two sides of beginner fear: impulse versus avoidance, acting too much or not at all. And here's the hard truth: neither will survive in this market, because both are driven by reaction, not intention. So what's the fix? It's not to become fearless. That's a myth. Even the pros feel fear. The difference is they use it, instead of being used by it. Let's introduce a third trader. We'll call her Trader C. Trader C still feels the fear, but she's built systems to guide her. She only trades one setup. She sizes small, not to win big, but to stay in the game. She journals every trade, not just the outcome, but the emotion. She knows fear won't vanish, but she doesn't run from it or obey it. She acts through it. One trade at a time. That's called conscious, calculated execution. It's not glamorous. It's not fast, but it's powerful because it builds confidence the only way that matters in trading, through repetition under pressure. Now, let me give you a quick analogy. Imagine two boxers. One steps into the ring swinging wildly, hoping to knock out the fear. The other keeps pacing outside, hoping the fear goes away before he enters. Both lose. The third, she steps in, guards up, eyes calm. She doesn't try to eliminate fear. She just sticks to her form, her process, and let the reps do the work. That's the trader mindset we need. So ask yourself, are you trading to feel better or to follow your edge? Are you sitting out because you're being disciplined or because you're scared to take the hit? Fear is part of this game, but how do you respond to it? That's what defines you. The solution isn't more indicators. It's more awareness, more structure, and most importantly, more execution with intention. Because only action, consistent, structured action, rewires the brain. That's what turns Trader A or B to Trader C, and that's our job now. But there's one more shift that accelerates this journey. It's not about trading like a pro, it's about thinking like one. Coming up next, how real traders reframe the entire game. By thinking in risk, not results. Let's break that open. Let's get one thing clear. You will never become fearless. Not in trading. Not in life, and especially not when your hard-earned money is on the line. But here's the good news. You don't need to eliminate fear. You need to build tolerance to it. Think of a fighter stepping into the ring for the first time. That first jab, it stings. That first body shot, it shakes their core. But over time, with enough sparring, enough exposure, the pain doesn't go away. They just stop reacting to it. Their body adjusts. Their breathing slows. Their mind stays clear, not because the hits got easier, but because they got stronger. Trading is the same. Your punches come as sudden losses, slippage, fake-outs, news spikes, moments that make your heart race. Your palms sweat. Your judgment collapses. In those moments, your brain isn't logical. It's primal, emotional. You fight. You flee or you freeze. That's the trader's real opponent, not the market. It's their own nervous system. So how do you build tolerance? Through exposure, reflection, and repetition. Let's break it down. First, exposure. You have to take trades. You cannot think your way to calm. Watching YouTube videos, reading books, or paper trading for 6 months won't rewire your brain under pressure. Only real risk does that, but controlled risk. Not YOLO trades, not oversized positions. I'm talking about micro-size, tiny risk, but real enough to activate emotion. The brain learns through experience, not theory. Second, reflection. This is where journaling comes in. Not just the technical stuff, entry, exit, setup. That's surface level. What did you feel during the trade? Where did the anxiety spike? When did you want to exit early? What story did you start telling yourself? This always happens to me. I should have taken the profit. Maybe I'll get lucky on the next one. These inner dialogues are data. The more you capture them, the more awareness you build. And awareness is the first step to change. Because what you can name, you can manage. Third, repetition. There is no shortcut here. You have to sit in the discomfort, over and over, until your body stops flinching at the market's movement. This is how professionals are made. They're not made through perfect entries. They're made through emotional repetition. They've been through the fire so many times. They don't burn anymore. Let me give you a real-world example. Mark Douglas, author of Trading in the Zone, taught traders to detach from individual outcomes. His method? He made them take 20 trades, all using the same rules without skipping one, modifying one, or reacting emotionally. Most couldn't even get past trade 5. Why? Because they wanted control. They wanted every trade to work. But once they committed to the process, not the result, something changed. They started trading like machines, calm, methodical, focused. That's emotional tolerance in action. Or think of Jesse Livermore. He lost fortunes, made them back, and famously said, "The game taught me the game, and it didn't spare me the rod while teaching." Pain is the tuition. Tolerance is the reward. It's like building muscle. You don't do it by watching people lift weights. You do it by repping through resistance. So, what does this mean for you? Start small. Start real. Journal everything. Log your thoughts, not just your trades. And most importantly, stay in the game. Because emotional tolerance doesn't come from winning. It comes from not quitting when you lose. Every trade is a rep. Every loss is a lesson. Every emotional spike is an opportunity to build strength. And over time, you'll look back and realize what used to shake you no longer moves you. And that right there is your edge. Coming up next, we shift gears from theory to action. Because all this mindset means nothing unless you turn it into a system. Let's talk about how traders install structure to survive the storm. Every trader wants one thing: to win, to see green on the screen, to feel the high of a profit, to prove to themselves, to others that they were right. But here's the problem. The more obsessed you are with winning, the more often you'll lose. Because when your identity is tied to the outcome, your emotions start trading for you. Let me paint a picture. Imagine two poker players. Same table, same cards. Player A plays every hand like it's life or death. Every chip means validation. Every loss feels like shame. They tilt, they chase, they spiral. Player B? They play the process. They know poker is a game of edges, not guarantees. They fold bad hands. They bet with discipline. And when they lose, they shrug. Because it's just part of the game. Now ask yourself, which player survives the longest? Which one walks away with a profit? Not just in chips, but in confidence. The same is true in trading. When you're glued to the result, you flinch. You cut winners short. You hold on to losers praying they turn around. You revenge trade just to get back at the market. Because the outcome becomes your emotional scoreboard. And that scoreboard is rigged. Why? Because no one controls outcomes. Not in poker. Not in trading. Not in life. Let's bring it home with a famous example. Pilots. A pilot doesn't sit in the cockpit hoping for a smooth flight. They follow a process. Pre-flight checklist. Instrument scan. Throttle control. Altitude adjustments. Now what if turbulence hits? A fearful, emotionally reactive pilot would panic. Start jerking the controls. Make rash decisions. Try to force calm skies. But a professional? They trust the process. They stick to the procedure. They stay calm because they've trained for this. They don't fight the turbulence. They fly through it. That's trading. That's life. Now here's where most beginners get stuck. They think detachment means not caring. They're wrong. Detachment isn't indifference. It's composure. It's the ability to care deeply about your craft, without being emotionally wrecked by the result. Soros once said, "It's not whether you're right or wrong that's important. It's how much money you make when you're right and how much you lose when you're wrong." In other words, let the outcome take care of itself. Your job is the process. And when the process is clean, the outcomes stack over time. Let's get practical. How do you shift from outcome obsession to process mastery? To journal performance by process, not profit. Instead of logging, $50 USD or red day, log. Did I follow my rules? Did I size correctly? Did I exit based on plan, not panic? Or to measure streaks of discipline. Forget win streaks. Track how many trades you executed with full process alignment. 5 clean trades is more powerful than 5 green trades. 3, create pre-trade rituals. Pilots don't wing it. Neither should you. Center yourself before you click. 1 breath. 1 checklist. 1 commitment, follow the plan. 4 separate identity from result. You are not your P&L. You're a performer like an athlete. Some games you win, some you lose. But the work, the preparation, the decision-making, that's where greatness is built. And here's the final truth. When you focus on outcomes, you chase. When you focus on process, you compound. Because of small, boring, consistent execution over time. That's how $100 becomes $1,000. And $1,000 becomes $100,000. Not from winning big, but from thinking small, precise, and repeatable. Think of Livermore. He made and lost fortunes. But his edge wasn't prediction, it was patience. He waited for the right moment. And when did it come? He executed and walked away. Now ask yourself, are you trading to feel something? Or are you trading to build something? Because only one of those paths leads to mastery. Coming up next, we shift from mindset to identity. Because even if your process is flawless, you won't stick with it unless you see yourself as someone who deserves to. Let's talk about how real traders shift who they are, long before they ever shift their results. Everyone wants to feel confident when they trade. To sit at the screen with certainty, steady hands, clear mind, no fear. But here's the truth. Confidence doesn't come from winning. It comes from control. Because hope is not a strategy, and hype is not a skill. Real traders don't feel confident because they know what's going to happen. They feel confident because they know what they're going to do, no matter what happens. That's the difference. Let's break this down. Meet 2 traders. Trader A wakes up late, no prep, jumps into the market, sees a big move, heart rate spikes, they FOMO in. No stop loss, no plan, they pray. They hope. Sometimes it works. Most times it doesn't. Trader B is different. They wake up early, run through their prep checklist. Only 3 setups on their radar. They know where they'll enter and where they'll exit, win or lose. And if nothing matches their criteria, they sit on their hands. Because no trade is better than a bad trade. Who do you think feels more confident? Exactly, confidence isn't loud. It's quiet. It comes from doing the same boring, smart thing, over and over again. Take pilots, for example. They don't feel it out when landing a plane. They follow procedure, checklist, instruments, protocol. Why? Because emotion in the cockpit kills, just like emotion on the charts does. Discipline is their oxygen. Now translate that to trading. Discipline is your defense against fear. It's your anchor when volatility spikes. Your shield when temptation whispers. Let's look at risk limits. Hopeful traders size up randomly. They bet big because they feel good, or try to make back what they lost. Disciplined traders, they predefine risk every time. They know the exact dollar they're willing to lose per trade. They don't move the stop. They don't double down. And because of that, they sleep better. They think clearer. They survive longer. Want to build real confidence? Control what you can. Here's how. 1. Build rituals before the trade. Confidence begins before you enter. Pre-market review. Market conditions. Review yesterday's journal. Visualize execution. Don't wing it. Prepare like a pro. Do. Use a small, repeatable playbook. Stop trying to trade every move. Pick 2-3 bread and butter setups. Master them. Know the conditions they work in. Confidence comes from familiarity. Decap your daily risk, no more blow-up days. Set a limit, maybe 2R or 3R. Once hit, step away. Protect your mindset. Confidence can't grow if it's constantly being shattered. Or review your execution, not just P&L. Did you follow your plan? Did you enter where you said you would? Did you manage risk properly? If yes, you won, even if the trade lost. They focus on progress over outcome. Confidence compounds. Each day you show up with discipline. You gain trust in yourself. Not fake motivational hype, but earned self-respect. Let's rewind to the old greats. Jesse Livermore wasn't confident because he won often. He was confident because he knew when not to trade. He said, "It was never my thinking that made the big money. It was always my sitting." Sitting requires control, and control breeds calm, and calm traders see clearly. Here's the irony. The traders who seem most fearless aren't fearless at all. They're prepared. That's what makes them dangerous. It's not their courage. It's their checklist, their boring routine, their obsession with the plan. That's where confidence is born. So ask yourself this. Are you building a house on hope or on habits? Because one crumbles, the other compounds. And when the storm hits, only one will still be standing. Coming up next, we'll take it deeper. Because confidence is just the start. To really grow, to evolve into a professional, you've got to shift your identity. It's no longer about feeling like a trader. It's about becoming one. Let's talk about that transformation. Every trader starts fragile. One bad trade ruins their day. One red week makes them question everything. One losing streak, they vanish. Not because the strategy didn't work, but because their identity was paper thin. See, when you are your results, when red candles feel like personal insults, you'll never last long. That's the real problem. It's not the market. It's that your entire confidence was tied to being right. And the moment you're wrong, it collapses. But pros, they're different. They've made the shift from fragile beginner to focused operator. Let me show you what that looks like. Imagine trader A. They just started, watched some videos, took a course, had 3 winning days in a row. Now they think they've cracked the code. They size up. They start talking big, but then the market humbles them. One red day, confidence shattered. They spiral. Why? Because they didn't build a trading identity. They built an ego. Now meet trader B, same start. Same wins, same losses. But they never thought the wins meant they were a genius, or that the losses meant they were a failure. They saw both as part of the process, and they stayed grounded. That's identity, not tied to outcome. Tied to behavior? Let's take this deeper. Athletes don't win every match. Fighter pilots don't win every battle. Even the best poker players lose hands, but none of them quit after a single loss, because they see themselves as professionals, and professionals don't panic. They evaluate, adjust, keep showing up. The best traders do the same. Let me give you a story. Paul Tudor Jones, one of the greats, once said, "The most important rule of trading is to play great defense, not great offense." He wasn't obsessed with proving himself. He was obsessed with protecting his capital, with showing up sharp, with staying alive. Because he knew something most don't: identity beats intensity. You can have all the hype in the world, but if your self-image crumbles under stress, you'll never survive. So how do you shift? How do you move from fragile to focused? Here's how. 1. Build identity around habits, not wins. Stop saying, "I'm a profitable trader." Start saying, "I'm someone who follows their process every day." The first collapses when you lose. The second grows no matter what. 2. Stop seeking validation. You don't need social media to know you're serious. You don't need green days to prove you belong. Your actions prove it. Your discipline proves it. 3. Track behavior, not just results. Did you stick to your plan? Did you size correctly? Did you journal? That's what matters. That's what grows identity. 4. Embrace boredom, as mastery professionals love the repetition. The same setups, the same prep, the same risk. Because consistency builds power, not adrenaline. Rewire your internal talk. Fragile traders say, "I hope this trade works." Focused traders say, "No matter what happens, I know how I'll respond." That's the shift. That's what lasts. Let's close this out with a powerful truth. When your identity becomes stronger than your emotions, you stop fearing the market. You stop chasing validation. You stop reacting like a child. And you start operating like a machine. A professional. A survivor. A sniper. That's the trader who makes it. Because they don't break. They don't beg. They don't need to be right. They just need to execute. That's the journey. You're not building wins. You're building a trading identity. And once that's in place, the results eventually follow. Everyone enters this game looking for a secret, a magic indicator, perfect setup, a strategy that never fails. And some even find something close, a good system, a working edge. But here's the truth most won't tell you. The system isn't the edge. You are. Because no strategy on earth can save you from self-sabotage. No setup survives a trader who lacks control. Let that sink in. You don't blow up accounts because your method failed. You blow them up because you got greedy, broke your rules, couldn't walk away. It wasn't the system. It was the mindset. And that is the real edge. Let me tell you a quick story. Nick Leeson had knowledge. He was smart. He had access. He understood the mechanics. But he didn't understand himself. He hid losses. He doubled down. He traded emotionally. And in the end, He didn't just destroy his account. He destroyed Barings Bank, one of the oldest in England. On the flip side, look at Richard Dennis. He took average people. No fancy degrees. No prior experience. And in weeks, he turned them into million-dollar traders. How he gave them rules. But more importantly, he trained their minds. He taught them how to think. How to feel nothing. How to follow logic when emotion screamed the opposite. That's the difference. The edge wasn't a setup. It was mental conditioning. Let me give you another frame. A gambler and a casino both play the same games. But only one goes broke. Why? Because the gambler chases emotion. The casino plays the odds. The casino has detachment. The gambler has desperation. Same game, different mindset, different outcome. Now bring that back to trading. Two traders can have the exact same system, same entry, same stop, same risk. One cuts early out of fear. The other follows the plan. One hesitates. The other pulls the trigger. One journal reflects, improves. The other watches another video, hoping the fear magically disappears. You see where I'm going? The system never mattered. You did, and fear? Let's talk about that. Fear isn't your enemy. It's your compass. Fear shows you what you haven't mastered yet. Fear shows you where your ego still hides. Fear, if used right, is fuel. Because courage isn't the absence of fear. It's execution in the presence of it. So when you feel that tight chest before clicking buy, when do you want to skip logging that trade? That's the moment. That's the test. That's the work. And doing that work daily, that's how confidence is built. Not by wins, not by green streaks, but by showing up scared and still executing. Now look back at this journey, from the fragile beginner who couldn't pull the trigger to the focused operator who trades with clarity. The shift wasn't magic. It wasn't talent. It was a mindset. That's the real edge. Not some indicator you haven't found yet. Not some prop firm or newsletter. Just you, with discipline, with patience, with focus. So here's how we close. You don't need to trade fearlessly. You just need to trade anyway. You don't need to be a genius. You need to be consistent. And you don't need to master the market. You need to master yourself. That's the edge. Everything else is just noise. Now go build it.